Think for a moment about the following scene. A man looks into a child's eyes, fully believing that he is looking at his son, the one who carries his blood, his DNA, his biological heritage. Now imagine that, in silence, the truth is different. Imagine that, in over 90% of paternity challenge cases, when a man decides to get a DNA test, he discovers he is not the real father. And the most disturbing thing is that, in the vast majority of cases, these men never question, never suspect. They live, raise, and support children who are not biologically theirs. This reality isn't just a statistic. It's a brutal reflection of the power dynamic between men and women and the way society has built a system of convenience that protects the illusion, but not the truth. If you think this is an exaggeration, get ready. Today, we're going to explore this topic in depth, based on critical works, authors, and analyses that dismantle the traditional red pill view. The final revelation I'll bring in this video will be the most important and powerful of all, capable of forever changing the way you see relationships, fidelity, and even the structure of the family itself. Before we continue, go ahead and subscribe to the Black Pill Femme channel, leave your like, comment with your opinion, and share this video. What we are about to discuss here isn't just information, it's a revelation. A revelation that can radically change the way you understand the relationship between men and women. Authors like Rollo Tomassi, in his book The Rational Male, Chapter 10, pages 145 to 150, already point out that motherhood is a biological certainty, but fatherhood is always a matter of faith. He suggests that this imbalance is part of human nature. However, the traditional red pill view tends to accept this almost as an unchangeable destiny, putting the man at an eternal disadvantage. The critique we make here is different. If the biological truth is hidden, it's not just an individual moral failing. It's a symptom of a social system that legitimizes lying as the foundation of the family. Think with me. Why is it that men, in the 21st century, are still induced to believe without questioning? Why does a woman, who biologically has no way to doubt motherhood, find room to hide or manipulate the truth of paternity? These questions are uncomfortable, but necessary. And here's the shock. We're not talking about rare exceptions, but about a reality that can affect millions of men without them ever suspecting. This raises an even more disturbing question. If the foundation of the family is built on trust, what is left when that trust is corroded by secrets? If you've watched this far, tell us in the comments, do you believe most men really have no idea about this reality, or do you think, deep down, they prefer not to know? What we're about to reveal in the next few minutes will expose not only statistics but also the deep reasons why society prefers to maintain this silence. And believe me, the further we go, the more you will realize that the final revelation will be the most transformative of all. Now that we've established the seriousness of this topic, we need to dive deeper. Many men believe that this is a marginal problem, restricted to specific situations, but when we look at studies, we realize there's a silent normalization of deceptive paternity. Richard Dawkins, in his work The Selfish Gene, Chapter 8, pages 210 to 215, describes how natural selection favors survival strategies that don't always align with moral values. What this means, in human terms, is that a woman can resort to reproductive strategies that guarantee the best possible genes for her child, even at the cost of the truth for the partner who believes he is the father. This biological reading is often used by red pills to justify female infidelity as part of nature. However, the critical analysis we make here questions precisely this romanticization of biology. It's not just about natural instinct, but about conscious choices within a social context that, in many situations, punishes the man with the responsibility of being the father, the financial and emotional responsibility of supporting children who are not his, while protecting the woman from judgment. Sociological studies, like those by David Buss in The Evolution of Desire, Chapter 12, pages 310 to 320, point out that the female behavior of concealing true paternity has not only biological but also cultural roots. Marriage and the institution of the modern family created a facade of stability that often serves more to maintain social order than to reflect the reality of intimate relationships. Ask yourself, how many men do you know who have even considered getting a DNA test for their children? Most don't even consider the possibility, because questioning paternity is seen as an affront to the woman. And here's the contradiction. The man who seeks the truth is often ridiculed, treated as paranoid, while the woman who hides the truth is supported by a legal and social system that values family stability above honesty. It is at this point that critical red pill analysis becomes essential. It's not enough to accept that things have always been this way. We need to face reality and expose the hypocrisy that sustains this structure. If the family is built on a lie, what about the generations that grow up within it? If you are following this reasoning, comment below. Do you believe the right to know the biological truth should be guaranteed to all men? The most important part is still to come. In the next section, we will reveal how this dynamic not only affects individuals but molds the entire society, influencing laws, the economy, and even the very notion of masculinity. And the final revelation, as I promised, will be the most impactful of all. Up until now, we've talked about the biological and individual dimensions of the problem. But now we need to go further. We need to understand how this reality impacts society as a whole. When millions of men support children who are not biologically theirs, we are not just facing a matter of personal deception, but a phenomenon that shapes entire institutions. Steven Pinker, in The Blank Slate, Chapter 14, pages 400 to 410, analyzes how culture molds our perceptions of what is right and wrong. The concealment of paternity becomes a behavior that, despite being morally questionable, is culturally protected to maintain social stability. Society prefers the illusion of structured families to dealing with the raw and often devastating truth. But this choice has profound consequences. The man, by being deceived, loses something that goes beyond financial assets. He loses his own identity as a father. Psychologists like Warren Farrell, in The Boy Crisis, Chapter 5, pages 120 to 125, show how the real paternal absence, even if covered by a substitute presence, has devastating effects on children. If a man invests years of his life in a child who is not his, he is emotionally present but biologically absent. This creates an invisible but powerful disconnection that affects the child's emotional development. And here arises another contradiction. While the man is forced to bear the financial and emotional responsibility, society devalues him, as if his figure were expendable. The implicit message is, you can be replaced, as long as you keep paying the bill. This not only destroys masculinity in its essence but also creates a generation of men who feel disposable, always at a disadvantage in any relational negotiation. Imagine a society where the biological truth was revealed transparently in every birth. How would marriages be? How many would survive the impact of this reality? How many men would agree to remain in relationships where betrayal was masked for years? The absence of this truth is not just the result of individual women's choices but of a legal and cultural system that prefers apparent stability to confronting reality. In critical red pill analysis, this point is central: the difference between what is natural and what is culturally manipulated. The traditional view tends to say that a man must accept his role as a provider, even in the face of uncertainty, because that would guarantee the survival of the species. But the critique we bring here reveals the injustice embedded in that expectation. If a woman benefits from the certainty of motherhood, why should a man be forced to live in the shadow of doubt? This is an open wound in the structure of the modern family. And maybe you're asking yourself how this molds not just individuals but the very concept of society. That's exactly what we'll see next. If you've watched this far, tell us in the comments, do you believe the truth should prevail, even if it destroys families, or do you prefer the stability of the illusion? Get ready, because in the next part, we will bring the most important and powerful revelation of all: how this silent mechanism redefines the future of masculinity, the family, and civilization itself. We have reached the most delicate and also most powerful point of this reflection. Until now, we've shown how deceptive paternity affects men, families, and even children. But the deeper truth is that this dynamic isn't just an isolated relationship problem, it's the hidden engine that redefines civilization itself. Think with me: if trust is the foundation of any social structure, what happens when that trust is corroded at the most intimate core of society, the family? The answer is clear: when a lie becomes the foundation, the entire structure is condemned to crumble sooner or later. Christopher Ryan, in the book Sex at Dawn, Chapter 9, pages 250 to 258, argues that monogamy was never humanity's natural basis, but a relatively recent social construct. What we see today is the price of that construct: women who, in search of social and financial security, choose partners who guarantee stability, but at the same time, seek out what they consider to be stronger genes outside the relationship. The result is a cycle of hidden betrayal, sustained by a society that prefers the appearance of order to the acceptance of the chaos of truth. But here is the most important and powerful revelation: the modern family as we know it is sustained by a silent pact of lies, and the men are the ones who pay the price for this pact. They are induced to believe that their masculinity lies in providing, in supporting, in protecting, but when we discover that in so many cases, this sacrifice is offered to children who are not theirs, we realize that the man is not the pillar of the family, but its scapegoat. This mechanism doesn't just destroy individuals, it destroys the very notion of masculinity. The man grows up learning what he must give without expecting recognition, that he must trust without questioning, that he must assume responsibilities that may not even belong to him. This silent deconstruction creates a generation of fragile men, not because they were born fragile, but because they were taught to live in a lie that weakens them from within. Ask yourself, what would the world be like if every man had the right to an automatic DNA test at a child's birth? How many relationships would survive that shock? How many men would agree to remain by the side of women who deceived them about something so profound? This is the truth that no one wants to face, because it would expose the fragility of the entire social structure. And here's the most impactful part: if masculinity is reduced to a mere instrument of provision, without the recognition of biological truth, we are heading towards an era in which men will stop believing in the institution of the family. And when the man stops believing, the entire social structure loses its ground. The collapse will not come only from the economy, politics, or wars, but from the bankruptcy of trust between the sexes. Stephen Goldberg, in Why Men Rule, Chapter 7, pages 200 to 208, points out that all of society is built on the differentiation of roles between men and women. But when the man's role is reduced to supporting a child that is not his, what is left is only a caricature of a masculinity that has been amputated, incapable of leading, incapable of trusting, incapable of creating solid roots. This is the final revelation. The lie of deceptive paternity doesn't just destroy marriages, it destroys civilizations. Because civilizations are not sustained by laws, but by trust. And when trust disappears, all that is left is ashes. If you've made it this far, tell us in the comments, do you believe the future of the family can still be rebuilt on truth? Or are we already on a path of no return? Subscribe now to the Black Pill Femme channel, leave your like, share this video, and comment on your vision. And make a donation to help with this work. On the final screen, you'll find 2 videos that expand on this topic, revealing even more disturbing secrets of critical analysis about modern relationships. Watch them, because they are the natural continuation of this reflection and can completely change the way you see relationships and society.